The story of Skidmore was more like the Old West.
There was a culture of violence in the area.
That's the history of our country. You get enough people riled up and they're going to go do vigilante stuff. People were afraid of Ken Rex.
There's an old saying, he needed killing.
When he got killed and they got away with it, at that point they felt protected.
The people who were involved in this and the people who covered it up, they didn't realize that their children are going to be negatively affected by this. It perpetuates itself.
They still think that it's okay what took place. The mentality is still there. It's exactly the same.
Since Ken's death, we've had a lot of tragedies in the town that is unusual for a rural American town.
Wendy Gillenwater, who was brutally murdered. Branson Perry disappeared and is presumed dead.
And then you have the most horrific case, Bobby Joe Stinnett.
A bizarre case of murder and fetal abduction.
Nobody here could ever perceive this ever taking place.
Multiple tips led investigators to suspected murderer Lisa Montgomery.
Everything was closing in. This child is in danger.
If you believe in karma, you believe that some of Skidmore's struggles are a legacy from the murder of Ken Rex McElroy. What's done can't be undone, and there is a price to pay for it. Is Skidmore guilty of murdering Ken Rex McElroy? Absolutely they are. They've stayed silent now for decades. But silence has a cost. Sometimes that cost is that other horrific things happen in your town.
Lisa Montgomery desperately wanted another child. She pretended to be pregnant. And she found Bobby Joe, another breeder of rat terriers. She drove from her home in Melbourne, Kansas, out to Skidmore, Missouri. Not a short drive. Pulled up in front of the little bungalow where Bobby Joe Stinnett lived and knocked on the front door. Bobby Joe let her in, brought her into the room where she kept all her puppies and dogs. And Lisa throttled that poor woman to unconsciousness. Knelt beside her and cut her stomach open. Pulled out that little child who was 8 months in the womb. Wrapped that baby up, took it out and got into her little red car and sped off down the road.
Less than a day after Bobby Joe Stinnett was found strangled, her unborn baby kidnapped, Law enforcement had a suspect, Lisa Montgomery of Melbourne, Kansas.
Here's what we have learned, lots of little bits of information from this latest press conference. We're told it will be the last press conference from the Sheriff Department. They're turning things over to the feds right now.
We anticipate in a short time we'll have some information that may relate to charges being filed in the case. If we can have your indulgence until those charges are filed, then you might have a lot more information at that point.
Sheriff. They had Lisa Montgomery identified within a day. There was an urgency to this.
That's when I sent Randy Strong and Don Fritz, two of my people, investigators, to Melbourne, Kansas, to try to find Lisa Montgomery and hope that the baby would survive. It's the first time I had ever heard of a baby being cut out of a mother for someone to steal a baby. I mean, wouldn't it have been a lot easier to go to a hospital or to go to someone's house and steal a baby that was 2 or 3 days old?
Lisa Montgomery, she had this obsession. She wanted that baby to look at her and for her face to be the first one that baby ever saw. The fact that the mother would probably die in the process did not trouble Lisa at all.
It's usually women that murder a pregnant woman and steal the child. Sometimes the child lives, sometimes the child does not live.
Detective Strong turned down that highway in Kansas. The road started out paved and then it turned to dirt. And they're going down there raising a cloud of dust as they turn into this farmhouse.
Don and I are walking up the driveway of Lisa Montgomery's house. I looked down and I had rat terrier dogs running around my feet, and I knew that was the place. We were at the monster's house, and it just sent chills down my spine.
They knock on the door, and when the door opens, they see the TV is tuned to a story about this abducted baby.
I quickly did a scan around the room. To my right sat a sofa, and Lisa Montgomery is sitting there holding a newborn baby. It didn't look right. Does she possess a firearm? Am I going to have to take a shot at her?
Detective Strong lifts that baby from Lisa's arms, and he walks outside of the Montgomery home.
I get a phone call and says, we have a little female baby in our hands. There was probably 17 investigators that had been working through the night on this case. There wasn't a dry eye in there, and it was dead silence.
I want to thank the people that helped me on this. I mean, this department couldn't have done it alone. The major case squad, these people were very well trained and they were very good. They helped us out at the crime scene over in Skidmore. And so with that, we're very happy the fact that we're going to be able to get this baby back to the family.
Does the baby have a name yet?
Her mother had her name before she was born. Victoria. Little Victoria Joe. And there was victory from God that helped us find that little baby.
Lisa Montgomery faces federal charges of kidnapping resulting in death.
That gal was just plumb deranged. I don't know whether she acted like she was pregnant, told everybody she was, and then come up here. I don't know whether she had any help or whether she acted alone, but...
They had met before. They had even gone to the same dog shows, according to some new witnesses.
Handcuffed and dressed in a prison jumpsuit, Lisa Montgomery testified in federal court in connection with the brutal murder of mother-to-be Bobby Jo Stinnett.
This is a case where it's going to be almost impossible to try to come up with any defense other than some form of mental disease, some species of insanity.
People do not want to believe that another human being is capable of this kind of violence.
There are questions about why Montgomery's husband accepted her story that she had suddenly given birth last Thursday and was ready to be picked up with the baby, not at a hospital, but outside a restaurant.
How did Kevin Montgomery believe that his wife was pregnant and that that possibly could be his child? She took that baby and showed him off at the local diner, the preacher's house. Everybody believed it.
Pastor Wheatley says for months, Lisa had everyone, including her own husband, convinced she was pregnant.
She was pretty small, and I commented to her about it. I asked her if she was due, when she was due, and she said she was due in December. And I said, well, you're kind of small to be having a baby that soon. And she said, well, I always had small babies, and so I just let it go at that.
But the fact of the matter is, it was all a scam for her to get what she wanted. She is a sociopath, not an insane person.
Good evening, everyone. Montgomery will die for killing a pregnant woman and kidnapping her baby.
Lisa Montgomery becomes just the third woman scheduled for execution in the federal system.
This case is closed. The case was solved by a couple of things which didn't happen in Ken Rex and Branson Perry's case. Quick, decisive action by law enforcement, information from townspeople, and in this case, there wasn't a conspiracy of silence in the town. This was different in its nature. Unfortunately, it's not different in its effects because it was still Skidmore. It was still horrific, and it added another chapter to that town's legacy.
A funeral is being held today for Bobby Jo Stinnett, the pregnant woman who was strangled in her Skidmore home before her unborn infant was kidnapped.
The people of Skidmore poured into this tiny funeral home, many still struggling to come to terms with their friend's sudden and brutal death.
I've known her since she was a little baby. She grew into a beautiful swan, and she didn't deserve this. You know, it's just unbelievable.
This case has finally come to a close, but we will never stop missing Bobby Jo. She was a sweet and loving wife, daughter, and sister, and would have been a wonderful mother.
Bobby Jo Stinnett was buried in the same town she grew up in, the same town where she will always be remembered.
When you have one bad thing happen, in another year or two, something else really bad happens, that town develops a reputation.
It is very, very bizarre that in a town of 300 and some people, within 5 years, there's 3 brutal murders. It just can't be coincidence.
To me, there's a higher power than any of us. And I wouldn't be sitting here telling you if I didn't know it was the truth. Did it all connect or something? I don't know, but I've thought about that. I have thought about that. Because this town was so full of sin.
At some point in time, they were a thriving little community, full of pride. And then Ken Rex McElroy was shot.
The last murder there was a freak deal. That had nothing to do with Ken Rex McElroy. That had nothing to do with any of the Skidmore people. That was just Bobby Joe Stinnett was on a website that somebody in Kansas saw. I know a lot of people in Skidmore, and they're not at all proud of the fact that this got blown up so big. And it keeps making stories.
All these things are little black marks because it happened in our community. Our community didn't cause it. I don't believe all that. The things that happened to the people in Skidmore, I won't use the word coincidence. I'm just going to say they happened because they happened.
Since we've had these violent situations in Skidmore, you don't see many people on the street. You don't see a lot of cars on the street. There's very little activity.
The older people started dying off and the younger people started moving away. There's nothing to keep people in Skidmore unless you just love it here like I do.
Skidmore is slowly but surely dying. When that happens, all the resources in a town start disappearing. And that's when the town collapses on itself.
Someday we'll just be a spot on the map.
It's already tough enough to be a small town in the middle of the country where there's nothing noteworthy and your town doesn't have a lot going for it. That's tough. To have these things happen and to be tagged with that legacy, that makes it even tougher. Some might say impossible.
Life hasn't been fair to the town of Skidmore. I mean, there's just been so many negative things happen in that area. How much can a town take, you know? Can they ever get past their history?
At that time, this was a D&G Tavern. There used to be an X chiseled in this sidewalk right here where McElroy's pickup was sitting. I don't know why people latch onto something. I don't know why they keep onto it. Strange area. Like there used to be an X carved in there, like that's 40 years ago. I don't do much on websites because I just don't know how to run a computer for the most part. But whenever I do know when somebody, and you punch up Skidmore, the first thing that comes up about Skidmore is the McElroy thing, Bobby Joe Stinnett, and the Brandon Perry. People are still coming. People are still asking questions. Everybody wants to know why it happened. But in another 10 years, you know, the McElroy thing will be 50 years old. There will be nobody living that can actually say, I was there. We'll be hearing people say, well, Mo, you know, my grandpa talked about that, or maybe my dad. But there will be nobody left alive that can say, I was there.
There's one truth in what happened, and only the people that were there know what it was. Some of the people were really glad he got shot. Some of the people didn't process it for weeks or months or years later. But all of them kept quiet. I think a lot of the people in town want to come clean on who did it, who done it. To come clean the town, clean the memory, clean your hearts, make peace with the Lord. That would be a wonderful thing for this community, that we knew the actual truth. But it's not going to happen. And people that are still living today that know what happened, they probably made peace with their God. And that's all they need. And every day, every week, every month, we lose more of those people.
If you want to see this history of Skidmore, all you gotta do is go through the cemetery south of town, because that's pretty much where everybody is.
Bone Camps, he died. Roman Henry, he died. Danny Estes, he's dead too, you know.
Trina moved somewhere down south, and she passed away 4 or 5 years ago.
I guarantee you the men who did the shooting, there was more than one, they're all dead.
It is a great testament to the strength of the community to protect the identity of those men until their death. And they're all dead.
I've been telling you, dead, 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 dead. They've got their revenge.
Del Clements, after the shooting, he drank himself to death. He was a mess after that. I never talked to him about it. I talked to him. I never talked to him about it. I didn't care to know.
Maybe that is God's way of allowing things to happen because of what they did. I don't know.
I know it is a spiritual battle. I know that. I don't know how Ken's murder affected everything. I can't see into that realm.
Bobby Joe's husband, they moved to a small town here south of town. You know, the little girl's probably 10, 12 years old now, doing good.
And to this day, Lisa Montgomery is not dead. She's still in prison.
We hope that answers will come up with Branson Perry's case. I hope and pray to God that they come up soon so we can see justice for Branson and the family, so we can put him to rest the right way next to his mother. This has gone on too long. It's been 18 years.
That town will never grow into absolutely anything till someday there's nothing there but empty buildings if they haven't all been burnt down. I think the town is kind of cursed, so in its own way, they're punishing themselves. The ones who pulled the triggers killed my dad. Whether they go to prison or not, at this point in time, it really doesn't matter. It's just closure to the case. And in a way, maybe free that town from the curse that it's under.
Murder's wrong. Vigilantism is, most cases, wrong. Not always, but most cases. Hopefully we won't be put in any of those situations again. But should it happen, people are going to make a decision. It's going to be a split decision, and it's going to be an instant decision. I'm going to grab a gun and shoot, or I'm going to run.
As a society, we've gotten soft. There's several countries where, you know, everybody is trained, everybody spends their time in the military, and everybody is expected to defend their home and their country. And ending McElroy's life was one of those things. And the men that took it upon themselves to protect their town did their job. And in turn, the town did its job by protecting those men. Nobody saw a thing. In the old days, that's just how it was. And as Americans, if we don't have people that are willing to do that, well, who's going to defend their community? You have to have those people.
It took courage to shoot at all. I'd have done it. You can call that violence if you want to. What are you going to do? You going to walk away? Give me a break. Do we need violence? You bet your sweet ass we do.
In Skidmore, when McElroy was killed, that wasn't the first incident of violence in the community. All these little communities, all these little towns have had killings and shootings from when they were first founded.
There was no law out past a certain point in this country at one time in our history. Everybody had to be vigilantes to make society function without being destroyed.
We live on the edge of the prairie, which has so much romanticism of wagon trains and cowboys and Indians and train robberies. And we're in the heart of Jesse James area.
This is the house where Jesse James was killed on April 3rd, 1882 by Bob Ford and Charlie Ford. Since 1882, the house has been on display, and I don't understand why people, quite frankly, would want to pay $4 to come and see Jesse James, where he died. We have the jail exhibit with a lot of different murder weapons that were used over the last century to kill St. Joseph people. I don't know why people like those kinds of things.
Keep in mind that in Northwest Missouri, outlaws they're kind of admired. Jesse James was an outlaw, but he's kind of a hero. Every farmer, every rancher in about 4 states let Jesse James and his gang sleep in their barns.
He was a regular cowboy killer. But he was good to my grandparents. Great, 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 I think it would be. It's down the line. That's how they got the first money to buy a little farm. They had him out, and he left money underneath the mattress for him.
Jesse James gave money to poor farmers in northern Missouri and central Missouri. But on the other hand, Jesse James also rode around terrorizing people.
In the next room, you'll learn about the 1995 exhumation of Jesse James.
So we in this area, we kind of have a legacy of admiring outlaws and outlaw actions.
What is one of our biggest superheroes in this country? Batman, right? Batman, what's he do? What's his superpower? He's rich, right? But what does he do? He goes out and crushes criminals and does what law enforcement can't do. Well, that's what vigilantism is.
Well, look at all our movies. The bad guy gets it in the end from the good guy. But it's not through the legal system. It's through a street brawl. But that's the history of our country.
I was in school. It was 8th grade history class. We were having a discussion over Jesse James and the vigilantes and things like that. And my teacher, he had brought up Skidmore, Missouri, and then he said Ken Rex McElroy, and wait a minute, and I was like, you're talking about my grandpa. You know, that's my family.
They didn't know that was one of his grandkids that was sitting in there as part of their curriculum. They was going to use the movie that was made by my dad getting killed. He had to sit there and watch it, and he didn't know if he should say something, or, you know, it kind of put him in a bad spot.
It hurts, because, I mean, I don't look at my grandpa like that. It's something that bothers me, that people say that had to be done, and not have anything said or done about it afterwards.
Burn in hell! Vigilantism has been idealized in this country. And people make heroes out of those who do that. And that really perpetuates the vicious cycle of violence.
I look at some of the pictures of my dad that's been out there, and one day I looked at myself in the mirror and I was thinking, wow, I look just like him. My name's Tony Surratt. My father was Ken McElroy. I didn't get harassed as maybe my siblings, did, because they carried the McElroy name and I didn't. My mother hid me from that, and I think that was due to the fact that she didn't want me to have that stigma of a McElroy.
Carrying the McElroy name, whether it be, your teachers, the law enforcement, whatever it was, anything you got into or we got into as kids, that's the first thing that they brought up was our name.
My brothers got it worse than me. They got told you're no different than him. They started fighting and someone saying something to get them riled up and then fighting. So there was quite a few different violent altercations that caused a lot of problems in their life later.
Do you ever think about revenging your father's death?
Me?
Yes.
I've thought about it a lot of times.
Mm-hmm.
You feel that hurt and that pain and understand at that point that it's over. He's dead. There's nothing you're ever going to do that's going to bring him back. And at that point, there's that sense of just overwhelming loss. You're lost. That was my introduction to violence. If I'd have never ever experienced that, I would have never ever known what that type of violence was like. I got caught up in it. Next thing you know, you fall on that role again. And I went from using to selling to you name it, I was doing it. Eventually something gives. Back in '89, a friend of mine was in the Hickory Tavern and he got in a fight in there with somebody, and I went to get the guy off of him. It was a pretty brutal fight. The guy ended up getting stabbed in there. They arrested me, took me to jail.
The boys didn't have their dad anymore, and the family kind of got ripped apart.
I mean, I've been in my share of violence, violent stuff, getting caught in different situations, and then life just, got out of control.
The boys, a good chunk of their life was struggle. And a lot of that had to do with the stigma from Dad's death.
My philosophy to how I coped with it was, I kind of viewed going to prison as going in the military. And I'm gonna have to experience things that I probably never wanted to experience, but I got to learn how to deal with those. And during that process, I chose at that time for me to refocus, what is it I'm doing with my life?
Morning. How you doing?
All right.
Oh, not bad. Morning, Pastor John.
Hey, how's it going?
Over half of our congregation are ex-convicts. From our ministry to the prisons. That's how Juarez came in.
I said, I've got 13 years in the penitentiary. I've got tattoos all over me. And I said, I probably won't be the most likely guy to be in your church. And he just looked at me and laughed. He said, you might be surprised. I was like, all right, then. I said, don't be surprised if I don't show up. 2 weeks later, I show up, and I'm 3 years later, almost still here.
Early on, I carried so much anger and so much hate. I wanted my father's death to be vindicated. Today, I put that past behind me. I don't carry that burden no more.
All right, little one. Papa's leaving.
When I was younger, I used to think about revenge, yes. Yeah, I did. Now I don't think about it so much no more. When I look at my own kids now, that's my life now.
I try to be forgiving. As far as us, I mean, are our lives perfect? No. I mean, we're not rich or, anything like that, but we're okay. It didn't break us, which is exactly what the town wanted it to do. But that didn't happen. We're still here. And we're okay. Struggle, yes. The town, I don't think it'll ever be okay because of the secrets that they keep keeping.
I just don't see how 60, 70 people can sit around and watch a person get shot and killed and nobody says nothing. Everybody kept it a secret. And there's a lot of things my dad probably got accused of that he didn't even do, I'm imagining. And there's stories of things that he did that, you know, he did. But, you know, people are not going to want to talk about good things when you're talking about somebody being shot and killed in the middle of a town of 100 people watching. They just swept it under the rug because they didn't want to face it no more. It's over now. The town ain't got to deal with him no more. The courts ain't got to deal with him no more. The law's not got to deal with him no more. He's gone, so now let's just forget about it.
When I think about Skidmore, I think of home. That's where I learned how to record. We had a barn. I would put microphones up. We would hear the sound of the wind, and it would give this sound of a the panes of tin that would just start to rattle a little bit and give this little shaking sound. I probably recorded 4 hours. Whenever festival would play, we'd take a long trip. We would stay in one big room. And at night, we would turn that tape on. It would take us back to Skidmore. Didn't matter where we were. It would take us back to the times before Ken's murder affected everything. Being in a small town where you don't have to worry about your door being locked, you didn't have to worry about someone stealing your car, you didn't have to worry about any of that. We've gone through a lot of things. People still work hard, people still struggle. People are still people, just like any other town. There's just 280 of us instead of 280,000 or 2.8 million.
I hope and pray that they can work things out here in town, because I'd hate to see something like that again. It's the crust of our town. And I have told you folks the gospel truth of everything that I know.
Small towns embody the American dream. Nice little clapboard houses and picket fences where nothing horrible would ever happen. Skidmore started out as a kind of typical small town, but when the McElroy thing came down, that is when they got infected. They had cut themselves off from the rest of the world.
Aren't you afraid of vigilante law? One person decided to take the law into his own hands once, someone else could again. Aren't you concerned that someone, perhaps one of your friends, has taken the law into his own hands and killed a man?
No.
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 Reverend, you got a very bitter and almost angry look on your face when I mentioned the word vigilante.
Yes. In the past, the people had to protect people, and now we're at that point again. As a Christian and as an American, I say, whosoever sheddeth man's blood by man, so shall his blood be shed.
Look, McElroy cast a cloud over this town, there's no question. There was fear here. But aren't you now concerned that you've taken the law into your own hands here? Aren't you afraid of the kind of vigilante law? If it happens once, it can happen again.
As a town, as a community, they've paid every day since. they paid. They're still paying. Okay? And depending on your religious background, they might pay later too.
Sorry to hear that it destroyed their town or this and that and the other, but you know what? I mean, you made a choice. You know, you're supposed to be these self-righteous, goody two-shoe people. Now you've got to go all throughout your life knowing that you took the father away from, 13 children. But I don't believe that you got off on it scot-free. You carried that with you all your life.
This incident has cast a dark shadow for many, many years over the community. You murder a guy in broad daylight, got to weigh heavy on your heart and your soul to keep that information in and not tell somebody about it. That's the one big story within this story. Yeah, it's a sad deal. I know people are still bothered by it. They think about it every day. A man was murdered in Skidmore, and there were young people and children and relatives and loved ones on both sides of the murder. There were long-term effects. A lot of innocent people were hurt. We've had our share of tragedies. It could have went another way, but it didn't happen that way. Murder was a horrible thing, but it was necessary at the time. But knowing what we know now, I just don't know. In a situation like that, what would you do?